Yay. Can't do that with me. All right, we're going to call the meeting to order at 5:06. Sorry for the delay, everybody. I'm going to do roll call. Malaya Coleman. She's not present. R. Scott Erickson is on a plane. I did get an email saying he would not be able to attend. Chief Fasaro.
Here.
Randall Ortega.
He said he was running late, but was on his way.
Okay. Dana Parfit.
Present.
And Kathy Velez.
I'm here on Zoom.
And myself, I'm here too. Approval of the minutes. Before we approve them, I did want to do a correction, a couple corrections. One was Kathy did come to the last meeting. She came a little bit late, right, Kathy? And she sat in the back, so we never really, I didn't realize it was her. I'd never met her before.
Yeah, that was my first time in person.
That was your first time, yeah. So she was here, so if we can change that. Yeah. And then I did get correspondence from Dana that we had discussed at the end, I think it was at the end of the meeting.
Yeah, this is under the other business open forum.
Yeah, that we talked about doing some kind of meet and greet, and you had mentioned LJ that something about you guys do coffee with the police. But I don't think we had a date that you actually had the next one, and we talked about putting it maybe on new business. So if we can just add that to 5.4, just coffee with police, and maybe discuss kind of what that would look like. And then can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes with the noted changes.
And I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. And communications received by the committee. Anybody have any communications other than the ones we just discussed? We don't think we have any old business technically. So we can go to new business. And it's community policing and officer wellness. Who's going to speak upon that?
We've invited Officer Heather McClellan and her capable four-legged friend.
Oh, my favorite person in the world. Favorite dog. Where did the dog go?
Just taking a nap.
Oh, she's taking a nap. Okay.
She does best.
Ooh.
Got it.
Space bar.
There it is.
Oh, hello.
There's a place I should stand so that we can see, or does it matter?
Yeah, that was good.
Okay.
Just make note that he has arrived.
They don't want to see.
Welcome.
All right. Good evening. My name is Officer Heather McClellan. I'm with the Groton Police Department. I am the community outreach officer, my partner back in the last one taking a nap. That's Chase. She is. I'll tell you a little bit about her and kind of the program that we have. Thank you guys for having me today. I'm excited to kind of talk about what it is my position entails and how we've instituted it into the police department and the kind of things that we're able to do now in our community that has been pretty exciting for us. I'll also mention and talk about officer ones. So if you go on the Groton town website, it talks a little bit about the mission of community policing. You guys may have a certain idea about what it is. I mean, to make things quick and easy, it's getting out into the community and learning about what folks need and how we can present things better and how we can work together as a team. So that is at the core of what we're trying to do, both in my position and in the police department as a whole. So I can't really say too much about what I do without mentioning my dog Chase. This program has really kind of guided and kind of put into motion the different activities and events and programming that I do, simply because she is with me every minute of every day that I work and mostly every minute of every day that I live. So she comes home with me, she's at work with me. She has, for the most part, public access, but sometimes I do need to seek permission for that. But she was donated to us by an organization called Puppies Behind Bars, which is a fantastic nonprofit based out of Manhattan. They train incarcerated individuals to train dogs so that they can then be service dogs, or in Chase's case, a facility dog. She does have that high level of service dog training. Because she's not for my personal use, she is considered a facility dog for that. But after meeting the founder of Puppies Behind Bars at a conference back in 2019, right? 2018, 2019. We developed a really great relationship with the organization. They offered to donate the dog, which is worth about $50,000 when all comes down to the training and care and maintenance of the dog. They completely donated my first dog, McDonald, to us, and McDonald went on, as you know, Tammy knows, to be an arson detection dog for the Massachusetts State Police. That was a little bit better of a fit for him. Immediately after that decision was made, they donated Chase. So they've essentially donated 2 dogs to our police department so that we can essentially perform the tasks that I mentioned above here. So the first one and the most important one is creating partnerships within the town and within the community. And I'll talk a little bit about what that looks like. Enhancing officer wellness within our police department and with area first responders. I'm sure, as you guys have talked about, we have a challenging job. It's a lot for our officers to see, a lot for our officers to experience. And so having a dog like Chase that provides comfort is a really good way for us to I say like hit the release valve a little bit every now and then for our officers, just playing catch in the hallway. Captain here is a big fan of chucking that ball down the hallway. So even something as simple as that is a really good way to provide some comfort to our officers. I really noticed the impact on victims. You know, we deal with a lot of DCF cases. We bring in victims to talk to them about the crime that they've been victimized by. And Chase has proven to be a really good tool to help victims who don't want to tell their stories to a police officer or to a detective. It's easier to tell the story to a dog. And I could show you some of the commands that we do to kind of help elicit that. And then as I've been doing this program now for coming on 4 years, we've identified some additional programs and pockets of the community that we can service. And it's been really exciting to kind of develop these different programs that we're doing and spread them out across the state and also pull them in from across the state. So it's a kind of an ever-changing, ever-evolving program that we have. But it's in the state of Connecticut, we were the first organization that started this program through Puppies Behind Bars. As of today, there's 12 programs, and Bristol PD is one of those. And they were the ones that just had that horrific 2 officers ambushed last fall, and they were able to get a dog to kind of help them. So these are kind of the pillars of the police service dog program. As you'll see in the many pictures that I have up there, she works into every single event, every single program in a positive way. So one of the things that I noticed when I was on patrol for the first 7.5 years of my time here, I was a patrolman, mostly on the evening shift, is that I didn't really kind of integrate myself with the different entities around town. I couldn't have told you who worked at the senior center, who was on town council. It's hard, right? Because you're going from call to call, especially on evening shift. You're really just trying to mitigate the issues that are in front of you. So one of the things when I was given this assignment as community policing officer, one of the things that I really wanted to do was find a way to kind of connect us all. And so thankfully, we have an awesome group of employees around town. We are in the Groton Library just about once a week. We do have office hours over the summer so that kids can come in. Detective Savino, who had the position before me, established the office hours in the library. And it was a really good way to connect us with the community, allow people to ask questions, play video games with the police officers. It was a really good way to kind of interact. Parks and Rec is instrumental in all of the events that we host. National Night Out, if you've never been to that, is a huge collaboration between us and Parks and Rec, and they're fantastic. Pride 55, one of the many events that we help them with. This was a holiday dinner or breakfast right before Christmas last year. So everyone on patrol, pretty much everybody in the building headed down there so that they could engage with a different pocket of our population in the town. Department of Human Services, Another great resource for us. We have, and I'll tell you a couple stories about how we kind of all connected, but they're a great resource for us to kind of reach out to and do toy drives with. We help them with some of the United Way food distribution events, that kind of stuff. Board of Education, in addition to the main office, we also obviously have our school resource officers, and getting into the schools has been absolutely huge for us. And I'll talk a little bit more about that too. Department of Public Works, we work hand in hand with them on a daily basis, whether it be trees down, working with different projects in the back lot. And so we actually got a huge donation of gift cards from Dunkin' Donuts. So we decided to share the love with them and thank them for some of the work that they did. So just getting connected with all these departments. I feel like as my position as CPO, I have the time and I have the effort and energy to create these different connections, and then the rest of our PD can come to these events. They can, really make those connections with folks around town as well. We're all working together under the same umbrella. So, like I said, youth engagement is huge. DARE is one of our kind of big pillar programs. We teach DARE at all of the elementary schools at the 5th grade level. This year I will have taught, let's see, CKMS, Thames River, and Mystic River. And then Investigator Robertson has the remaining 2 schools of Northeast and Charles Barnum. So that's 5 schools. That's 10 lessons times however many classes. So it's a lot of hours, it's a lot of prep time, but it's probably the best work. It's the most fulfilling work. They love to see Chase. This is one of my classes at Mystic River, using Chase as a desk there, but it's just really easy to connect with the kids when you have a squishy little puppy like Chase to be able to engage them. Not all kids are gonna be receptive to police officers in their schools or when they show up to their houses, but she's been a really good way to kind of connect with them on a different level. And these kids in this class are now in middle school. I see them now at the community center. They were part of our last DOGA session, dog yoga, the term that we come up with. So we see these kids from when they're in 5th grade, when they're in elementary school, moving up through the school process. School visits, our officers do every school every day, and that's a safety and security measure. It's a way for our guys and girls to get into the schools and see the kids, let them see us, check in with the administrators, see if there's any issues, if there's stuff that we can follow up on. And we have school resource officers in the high school and middle school, but we have 5 elementary schools, 4 and 1 in the city that we help out with there. But that's our way of kind of keeping tabs on those schools that we don't have the officer in all the time. After school programs, community center is a big thing. Like I said before, we have a good relationship with our Parks and Rec. When they let me know that they were having some issues over at the community center, they had some kids that were causing trouble or making some bad decisions after school, we decided to flex our hours. And when I use the term we, it's me and my dog. Flex our hours so that we can spend some time at the community center in the afternoon. And that's when we did our yoga session with them. That's when we, go play basketball with them. And it's a way for us to kind of tailor our police work to how they are, what the needs are in the community. And that's a big part of why I'm here, why we're all here, right? Summer camps, we have fantastic summer camps through Parks and Rec. So we make sure that we step in on all those and do superhero day. Officers come with the police cars. We have firefighters with their trucks, their big red hats that everybody loves. But summer camps are a good way for us to connect. I mentioned office hours, both in the library and the Groton Community Center, and then also yoga or wellness for our kids, our teens. And we're also working to get yoga, the chair yoga that they do at the senior center at 555. We're going to be working with Connie over there to kind of get Chase involved in that too. It's a nice way to kind of loosen things up. So just a little bit more about our school resource officers. So give you an idea of kind of the web that we have here. So recently we had a kid in one of the schools who had just moved into town. They were living in a hotel. She had clearly didn't have what she needed to be at school that day. So Officer Bousquet gave me a call. Hey, I just need a backpack. Can you grab me a backpack? I was like, all right, well, what else do you need? Like, is there anything else that she needs? Do they have food? Does she have clothes that she needs? What is it that you need for this kid? So it turned out that, just a couple phone calls, we were able to, I reached out to Lisa over at Human Services. They had some backpacks left over from one of their drives last year, packed it up full of good stuff, brought it over to the school. We also grabbed some of our $50 gift cards that Children First Groton had written a grant for us so that we could get these emergency. They were based on families and COVID relief during that time. We had $50 gift cards that we were able to bring to families in need immediately, right? This isn't something that we advertised to the community because it wasn't something that we wanted people seeking out, but our officers have access to these gift cards if we come across a family that, has no food for the night or has an oil issue or has something immediate that we can help mitigate before we send them off to services. So we were able to get this kid resources from Human Services. I connected them with Lorena Clark, who's our police
Public Safety Community Outreach Specialist.
That's a lot.
It's a big acronym. Connected her with Lorena. We're working on getting her family, with state services as well. So from that one phone call from Officer Bousquet, we were able to make those connections and make a kid feel a little bit more comfortable on our first day of school without some of the essentials, right? So that was a really good example for me of how well we've connected ourselves to folks around both the town and on the state level. Youth Advisory Board we're a part of. If a kid has a referral or has a juvenile arrest, we discuss these things and we try to alleviate some of the effects of those actions and see if we can divert it to something a little less than the criminal end. GASP is an organization that we work with within our schools too, and we collaborate for DARE, because we try to make sure that all of our DARE curriculum is up to date with what they're teaching with the prevention stuff. So I'm sure you've probably seen a lot of these events, but a lot of what we talk about or a lot of what we post about on Facebook, it has to do with these community engagement events. National Night Out for the past 2 decades, we've been doing this at Quantic Plains every year. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. We've got live music, we've got free food, we've got all sorts of engaging activities for the kids, and it's all free for our community. And that's just a matter of us going out into the businesses in the community, asking for folks to donate things and just bringing everybody together for this event that connects families and kids and community members with police officers, firefighters, EMS workers. And last year we had our dispatchers at our table as well. So we were able to kind of get everybody in the public safety realm out into the public. Cops and Comfort Dogs is a program that we did the past 2 years. So we had folks from police departments as far south as Maryland up to I think St. Albans, Vermont, with police dogs like ours. The program has really grown a lot the past couple of years. And we invited, and I know I've seen some of you guys at those events with kids and everything, but we've invited a lot of people to come check out the dog program, and it's really been a huge success and definitely a crowd pleaser. Coffee with a Cop is something that we do, I'd say 3, 4, 5 times a year, depending on schedules and stuff. We've gone to downtown Mystic. We've done Coffee with the Chiefs that's collaborated with Stonington. We've been to Starbucks. We try to move it around to different parts of town, but we're always looking for different venues because we want to hit all the pockets of Groton. Someone who might go to the Coffee with a Cop in Mystic might not go to the one over in Navy Housing. So we're always looking for those different venues to engage with our community, kind of bring ourselves to them. We also had a really fantastic collaboration with the Cave Barbershop this year to give out school supplies, and I think we got 60 or 62 free haircuts to kids around Groton. It was a huge success. And then, of course, the other events around Groton, we're not necessarily the ones planning it, but as part of the DEI committee, we're involved in helping coordinate the Pride and Black History Month, Pride flag raising ceremonies. So some of the community programs that we're a part of, really proud of. Community Speaks Out is one of those. Thank you, Tammy. A couple years ago, and you guys came in and really helped us kind of get the ball rolling with getting the information out to folks with addiction and how we were going to help, you know, not just arrest these folks and deal with these folks in a negative situation, but how we could help them get services that they needed. And, you know, I don't know if I've shared it with you, but I used the reference for a kid that was arrested for a burglary, sent him to you guys. He went and got clean. I met him about 4 years later on the call, and he remembered, you know, the whole process from start to finish. It was, for me, it was, you know, this is what we're all about, right? So making those connections. Cognitive Safety and Awareness Program is for folks with dementia and Alzheimer's, and it allows us to connect with families before there's a problem. So we get information from the families. We enter it into our secure police database so that if their family member wanders off or has a propensity for, you know, kind of leaving without telling anyone and having issues with that, we have more information on how to kind of track them down. The Blue and Green Envelope programs also assist us with autism and hearing issues for drivers who might need a little bit more context on a traffic stop. And then one of the cool things that we did this past September or October was the mock traffic stops for drivers with autism. And this was I didn't realize how many kids and adults who were driving, who were on the spectrum, right? And so we collaborated with Southern Connecticut State University and their educational department, and we're able to bring this program to Groton. I think we had 2 sessions of maybe 10 each.
Yeah,
Drivers
good
each.
turnout, even though it poured that day.
Yeah, so it allowed us to kind of interact with these drivers and get to know them on a kind of a more personal level. And then we actually walked them through a traffic stop. And so they were able to understand, you know, what it is we were asking for, why we were asking for it, and to really just be more transparent. And really it allowed us as police officers to get some context into, you know, what these folks are thinking and what they're feeling when they are stopped and they're in this, you know, really anxious situation. We had a gentleman who has his own business. He's on the spectrum. He came and helped us kind of navigate that from both sides of it. So it was really cool, really awesome event for us that I'm sure we're going to do in the future as well. And then we work closely with Safe Futures. They are the domestic violence organization that helps us bring services to folks who have been victims. And so we do have Sergeant Sawyer back in training, who is our liaison for them, and he helps make sure that we are following up and getting services and making the connections that are necessary, and also keeping us, you know, within the policies that we need to uphold for our department. So the other part of my job is wellness, and feel free to just too much, just fast forward me ahead. Officer wellness is a big part of it.
You put Chase to sleep.
I know, right? She's giving me the sleepy salute, like get done with it already. This is huge for us. You know, when I met the founder of Puppies Behind Bars, it was at a suicide prevention conference at the NYPD, and that was a year that they had just lost something like 10 or 12 folks just within their agency to suicide. And it's one of those things that's not a problem until it's a problem. And that's not something that we want to ever have as a problem in our agency or any other agency for that matter. And so the idea of bringing her into our police department and being able to have just another tool on our tool belt for helping our officers. We have programs already, right? So some of these things work for some people and some of them don't. She works for a lot of people, but there's certain people that don't like dogs, and that's fine. It's just another way that we can offer a service to folks who are putting their lives on the line. And we have a lot of great stuff. We're really amping up our peer support program. We're still kind of moving along with our police chaplain program, but we are able to reach out to different folks who are able to come in and help us with death notifications and stuff like that. So we do a lot to reach out to other PDs as well for assistance with that. Obviously, for some people, wellness is about just keeping healthy and, doing the right thing with working out, eating healthy. So we provide some guidelines for folks who are interested in that. And then Connecticut Alliance to Benefit Law Enforcement, or CABLE as it's known, is an organization in Connecticut that trains police departments and police officers with critical crisis intervention training. And so we get trained on, how to help folks when they're having these crises and working through some emotional and mental health issues. And we also talk a lot about how to help each other through that stuff. And so I think right now a large percentage of our department has gone through CIT training, which is a 40-hour training. Luckily, we teach one of the classes at that, so they give it to us for free, which is huge for the budget. But it's a great way for us to really get all of our patrolmen and our everybody in the police department just engaged and in tune with what's going on and the latest and the most important information that's coming through with mental health, because that's a huge number of our calls are based on mental health issues. Sir? Just a little bit more with officer wellness. We don't just do stuff in Connecticut, but we've been to the NYPD for funerals and wakes. We respond as a critical incident stress management debriefing team. So we went to Stonington the other day when they had a gentleman that was hit by the train. All of the first responders that go to those calls, they need to debrief that stuff. We carry that all on us day in and day out. And, it might just be that one incident that kind of throws somebody over the edge. So we try to mitigate it as it comes, try to hit that release button. And again, Chase is part of that, believe it or not. This is one of the EMTs that I met a couple years ago. He allowed me to take his picture and said that I was able to use it. But this is one of the commands that she does. It's called Tell Me a Story. And it's similar to what I was telling you before. It allows somebody to kind of just have a moment with the dog, not think about what's going on around them. If they want to talk to her instead of one of us, it's a good way to kind of just give them that space. So she is a big part of that. And then, involved in these CISN debriefs, we have all of the different agencies that respond to a call. So fire, EMS, obviously being close to the sub base and interacting with a lot of them, we do a lot of engagement with them as well, and help them with critical incidents as well. Social media, love it or hate it, it is really kind of the pipeline of what's going on, right? And so we try to get ahead of things. We try to engage in a positive way, let people know where we're going to be. It allows people to reach out to us as opposed to having us come to their house or maybe call by phone. They can message us if there's issues that they have. We've worked with traffic concerns through our social media page. Folks who have issues with speeders on the road, it'll come to me because I'm one of the administrators of the page. I'll send it to the appropriate unit, and then we can try to address things as they come, as opposed to letting things get built up. And it also helps with not bogging down patrol with little things. I try to help out with things through social media that maybe don't require an officer to come to their house. And then Chase has her own Instagram page, which is kind of like fun for me. So it's not really a job, but it's a good way for us to just kind of get out there. And you wouldn't believe the number of people that follow a dog. 2,657 people who are on there watching her every move every day. So it's a good way for us to engage with them. And we do our best to let folks in the media know what we're doing so that they can put it out there to our community and beyond, but also get the stories out there that should be told, right? A lot of times we're reactive with stuff, or we're getting stories about what the police didn't do or how they did it poorly, but there's a lot of good stuff out there that we need to be our own advocate for. And so I think we do a really good job of having good relationships with folks in the media and making sure that we're transparent, but also we're giving them what they need and vice versa. So Chase's contact information, my contact information. Anytime if you have questions or ideas, we are open to feedback. If you want to see something in your community, let us know. We'll make it happen. I think this this position that I have is, I love it. I absolutely, this is the best thing that I've done with my time here. And the nice thing is that it's constantly evolving and it really can go wherever we need it to go. So if you guys have ideas, please reach out, my email, my phone, through Jason's Instagram.
It's too bad Chase isn't more for the giant.
I know, right?
I take a picture of that real quick.
Yeah.
Mm.
All of these pictures have been with stickers and baseball cards, so. Or I think the kids get when they see.
Can I just offer a couple of comments?
Yes.
And I'm sure there's some questions, but I just like to point this out because Officer McClellan's pretty humble, but this program that she really has been the brainchild for has received recognition throughout the country. And a couple of us have been able to go to some conferences and teach other agencies. A couple of weeks ago, there was a police chief from Louisiana inquiring about this program, another one from Las Vegas Metro. There's been agencies across the country that have reached out here to Groton to try and find out more about the program that Heather has put together. And
How do they hear about it? Out of curiosity, is it just through like
How
a,
did folks hear about it?
yeah, like in Louisiana, just by following them?
We were we presented twice at the International.
Oh, okay.
Police Chiefs
the National Association of Police
conferences.
Chiefs. Yeah.
So a lot of municipalities and
Okay.
state programs are there. So
The New York City Police Department followed Heather's lead. So what's that tell you?
Nice.
they have 3 dogs that are specifically assigned to their
Wellness
employee
unit.
assistance,
Yeah.
right? So just for their employees, the 55,000 employees, they have 3 dogs. So they probably like to have about 10 more, but they don't even have time to do the community stuff. That's how inundated they are with response calls, and just visits. Does anybody have any questions or thoughts?
Go ahead.
Just have praise, because I wear many hats, in this community. One is obviously a town counselor, but I'm also a mom. And Heather has been at every single event that I go to at the library. My kids are asking for Chase's birthday party already.
So is Joseph, July 13th.
So as a mom, I cannot thank you enough for what you do, because my kids love you. I am a Board of Ed employee. I listen to the kids at school that love Officer Heather. They love Chase being in the school. And I'm also a law enforcement spouse and former law enforcement officer. And there was an incident in the city that my husband works in, and it was a very gruesome, traumatizing incident. And he came home one day and so thankful that Heather showed up at the police department that day, because the men and women needed it. It was pretty traumatizing thing. And so I cannot emphasize enough how important Heather is to Groton and to the communities around us. For me.
We're lucky to have her, and she is that connective tissue with the community and the department. And we get back in spades what she's told you about helping other agencies out, so it comes back in return.
And I don't know if you know this, but London PD is going to be getting a large dog, so.
No, and you've been instrumental in other departments in the area getting that for them. So
Yeah.
they're thankful.
Yeah. Great.
Couple things I also want to piggyback on praise. I mean, I remember going to New Haven Beach, saying goodbye to a young girl, and you were there, and that was like, makes me even emotional thinking about it. But the fact that, I could see your face and see Chase, it was like, it was a hard situation to say goodbye to a little girl that was dying of a disease that was terrible, but you guys were right there, and that was awesome. I know you're so busy as it is, but I'm almost wondering, just because individuals who have had maybe not the greatest track record when it comes to being arrested with substance abuse disorders and stuff, whether there's something opportunity down the road to maybe kind of go to, because we have a lot of sober houses now in Groton, and they're actually run very well, and I know they've been very happy with their their connection with the police departments, but I almost wonder it'd be something to just kind of like for them to feel like they're not just, have a different
Right.
relationship. And Chase would probably play a really good, I mean, they've all even wanted to have a dog in their house, but they were not able to, but yeah, having Chase maybe visit.
To a few, one of the ones in town a couple of years ago. And then I know you guys had the sound healing library.
Yes, that was,
Really popular event, so.
yeah.
Yeah, anybody you want to throw my name to? or-
Okay.
Or vice versa.
Yeah, I don't want to overwhelm you.
I'll let you know if I can't do it, but I need.
Are you aware of the recovery summit that's happening in Groton that's hosted by the Students for Recovery?
Yes.
Are you aware of that? Okay.
Yep.
Good. So hopefully see you there. Anybody else? have
Mr. Bright, did
questions?
you have a?
I just was wondering if you ever sleep. With all the stuff you do.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
no, it's a lot of fun. It really is. It's very gratifying, I think. All the things that they do.
Well, thank you. Mhm.
She broke the cardinal rule in law enforcement, though.
Wow.
She told people she likes what she does.
Well, thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
You have our information.
Yes.
Thanks, Heather.
Thank you, Chase. Thank you. Thank you.
I get to follow that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just
That's
zapped the
fine.
dog.
That's 5.2. I don't know if you want to announce it for
What is it?
the next.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah, as the chief said, and
Complaints and praises. Sorry.
Tammy alluded to it, Heather is so humble and she gets, yes, she is a community policing officer. She goes to Rhode Island, Massachusetts, New York. She goes way outside our jurisdiction to assist others. She was up, was it Colchester assisting the high school?
Yep.
One of their
Yeah.
fellow students. Sadly passed away in a horrible car accident. Just fantastic work she does. We put her in for a community policing award from DOJ. That's the US DOJ, not the Connecticut DOJ. And in that write-up, he said, suffice it to say, she and Chase are the face of this department.
Mm.
I wouldn't argue with that even a little bit.
I'm probably the cutest face too.
Heather?
Yeah, cool. Yeah, Heather and Chase.
And I think most of you know who I am, but for those who don't, I'm Captain Greg McCarthy. Thank you for having me. I am speaking on behalf of Deputy Chief Paul Gately. He's not here this week. Going to be talking about civilian complaints and get House with some kudos or appreciation letters to us. It's not going to be all inspiring like her presentation, because we only had 6 civilian complaints this year. 6. So for all those who say, oh, a police department can't be doing that well, yeah, we had 6. And I'll tell you why, because the process is very simple. It's outlined in our uniform complaint policy, which is online, and as well as the uniform complaint form. If a civilian feels they have a legitimate need to make a complaint. And when I say the deputy chief was going to talk about this, he basically has the responsibility of maintaining this process. We all at this department, all employees of this department are responsible for the civilian complaint process, because nobody here can turn somebody away. Nobody can deny a civilian who wants to make a complaint from making that happen. Now, they might not be the ones to take it, but everybody has signed off on our complaint. We've had plenty of training on it. Those persons, everybody, meaning dispatchers, to the records ladies, to Bob Stroll, they know to get in touch with a supervisor and get that person who wants to make a complaint in touch with that supervisor. That supervisor will show up with the complaint form. Can't say where it might be. It might be in this classroom, in our statement room, might be in the person's kitchen. They'll take the complaint, they'll bring it back, they'll give it to the deputy chief. He'll look it over, he'll assign a complaint tracking number. A complaint control number for tracking purposes. And then he'll make a determination to say, okay, I'm going to give this complaint to the initial supervisor to investigate, or he might give it to somebody else. So that supervisor goes out, investigates it, looks at body worn camera, because that is so telling on how our officers behaved at scenes. They'll do a letter format, denoting their findings. They'll bring it back to the deputy chief. In turn, I just wanted to say, when the deputy chief gets the initial complaint, he will notify the complainant within 5 days that a complaint has been received and who the officer is who's being complained about. Investigating officer is. The officer being complained about will also receive a letter. So when the deputy gets it back from the person investigating it, he'll look at it for thoroughness, completeness, whether it's objective. If it needs to go further up, further investigation based on possible malfeasance, misconduct, has to go up to the chief of police for further investigation or determination, it will. If it doesn't, which is usually the case, if the actions of our officers were unfounded, whether exonerated, the deputy chief, he'll either write it or I'll write a response letter right to the complainant denoting all that was learned from the investigation. Some other points that are important, as I already mentioned, no employee shall refuse to assist any person who wishes to file a civilian complaint or discourage, interfere with, hinder, delay, or obstruct the person from making the complaint. You can make a complaint so many ways. So if we ever hear, I know 3 of us, if we ever hear that a person wasn't able to make a complaint, that's BS, because we can have persons who are deaf make complaints with the it's a certain type of telephone PDD. Thank you.
Yeah.
Facsimile, by cell phone, in person, anonymously, third person. You name it, we'll take a complaint from that person. Okay. Now, that person comes into our lobby and is just roaring drunk or impaired. There's ways we do that too. We can take the complaint, but more than likely, if they're that bad, we'll look to get them some assistance, maybe over at the hospital. But if not, we'll take the information we possibly can gather at that point, hold it in abeyance. Then when the person is sober, we will take the complaint at that point. But I just wanted to know one thing, because when that happens, when somebody shows up in that bad a condition, this is sometimes what their complaints look like. That's what we took. That is I'm not going to read what those parts say. There's a lot of fragile people here, I know.
Can I ask you just a quick question? I hate to interrupt. When a person does say come in intoxicated and they want to file a complaint, would you guys automatically start the complaint process for them just so that you can document the fact that they
Correct.
showed up? Okay.
We would take it, depending on what shift it was.
Mhm.
You don't necessarily take a C number of that, because if it's on the midnight shift, you might not know, that shift commander might not know what number is next, but we would absolutely start it in a report format.
'Cause that's important.
Oh, absolutely.
Key.
Yep.
Yeah.
Start it right away.
Okay.
There's no delay. I think when we first started this process, it was a little ambiguous for
Mhm.
all of us. We all wanted to do the right thing, but certain people didn't know their responsibilities, and I think we've hashed all that up.
Perfect.
I talked about the notifications, and certainly persons aren't always thrilled when they get the letter from us.
I'm so sorry that I'm this way, and she had her hand was up.
Just to clarify for people that wouldn't know, so patrol officers don't generally investigate these complaints.
Correct.
It would be someone of a certain rank or higher.
It would be a supervisor, it would be a sergeant or higher.
Thank you.
So like I said, we had 6 civilian complaints this year. And nature of the issue, these complaints, unhappy with arrest. Most people are unhappy with their arrest. Disrespectful treatment while in custody, officer attitude. And then the last was they felt the police called to parents' home unnecessarily. These were all investigated, and I can tell you that they're exonerated or unfounded. And it's getting to that point where I always need cheaters now. Certainly in the first, I'm happy with the arrest. This person came in, made the complaint. He was arrested for a threatening call or a threatening incident. He felt the officer didn't fully investigate his situation. I was actually the one who investigated this, and I can tell you, the officer did a fantastic job with this. The inquiry revealed proper investigative techniques were employed and completed while on scene. I even went so far as to bring this gentleman in. I said, okay, you have a complaint to make about the other person, because he wanted the other person arrested. We'll take that complaint. This is separate from the civilian complaint. I'll sit you down with an officer right now, and you can make that complaint with him. So, and then Holland finally came back and I'm gonna do it. Went in there, and the officer wasn't really familiar with the whole case, got himself ramped up on it and started asking him some normal police questions. Guy didn't want to have anything more to do with it. Flung the door open and ran back home. Literally ran like up to the corner, angry. We did all we could with that, Joe. The next one was that complaint I showed you with the gibberish writing on it. He caused a pretty bad disturbance at the Marriott, got transported to the to L&M for some injuries he received because he was so belligerent to another person. I was angry with our officers for being.
Wasn't injuries from.
No, I
Not,
was
did I
just
say
gonna-
this?
no, you,
No, not.
Just to be clear on that.
Yeah.
Definitely not. And got there and complained about our disrespectful attitude towards him and how officers smirked at him. And the investigation found no evidence of that at all. Our officers had masks on, so smirking couldn't even have happened or been seen. And he actually is on body worn camera saying, respected our officers, thank you for everything you do. I mean, can't get much better than that. We just actually arrested him 2 days ago on a re-arrest warrant. The other one here
was there
uh,
alcohol involved in that one?
well,
Okay,
not the re-arrest warrant,
okay.
but this one was a lot of alcohol at an early part of the day. I think this took place on day shift or very early evening shift. And he was, he'd come from like Milford or something. Somehow he got to the Marriott safely. Claims of being brash, impatient, and easily aggravated. This was fortunately, this was a domestic. This was a tough one. Our officer did everything they were supposed to do for a domestic violence case. The woman didn't want her husband arrested, flat out for domestic abuse. And I can tell you, I know the case, and it's true, terrible abuse, but she was gonna lose some benefits and such. She wanted to go against what she had given the state. Our officer did a fantastic job on that. This rude behavior on a motor vehicle stop. This gentleman was claiming that our officer had made some disparaging remark about where he was living. He was kind of between homes. He was living in the Groton, it used to be the O'Connell Lodge. No, it's further down. Groton, not Groton in the Suites. Anyway, it's down by Tollgate, and the officer was there and never once mentioned anything about this guy's living arrangement. Just the fact that, oh, you're staying here at this hotel. That was it. That's all he said on body worn camera. That was unfounded. This other one, officer sent to a loud noise complaint. This took place down in Mystic, if I'm not mistaken. Guy had a band in his backyard, cranking out the music pretty late at night. People called us because, you know, it's close proximity. It's thickly settled there in Mystic. We went down there just to say, hey, it's time to end the music. Guy came out pretty quick at our officers, like moving with a purpose, so to speak. So our officers engaged that in the same kind of verbal command presence. You need to step back, and he didn't like that. But then he thought our officers threatened to arrest him. They didn't do that, but they threatened or advised him that he could be given a ticket for creating a public disturbance. That's what he took as being threatened to arrest.
Can I ask you a quick question? Is there a time ordinance for noise, or can it be a complaint at any time?
It's what's reasonable.
Okay, so it doesn't matter a 10 o'clock thing. It's if there's a band and it's too loud, then
Yeah, you have, I don't know,
Huh.
Joni Mitchell or
Sugar.
sugar playing
Yeah.
low and it's quiet. But if you, this was loud music,
Yeah,
cranking
we've
and
had that before.
should be respectful of your neighbors.
Okay. Thank you for that information.
This last one, felt police called to parents' home unnecessarily. This person wasn't even present at this incident. So we got called to residents for a loud noise complaint. We get there, there was an adult male playing a video game very loud, to the point where it could be heard outside the house. And the caller thought it was a domestic situation, but didn't really say that, never said that in the complaint. The complainant in this thought that neighbors were targeting her parents, which we found out that the neighbor she thought were targeting never made a complaint, never said anything to us. And she thought that our officers were making fun of her brother when you see on body worn camera, there was laughing, joking going on between them, talking about the video because this one officer's child plays the same video game, that type of thing. The complainant never wanted to speak with us again about it. So that was unfounded also. Besides the 6 that we have 21 phrases or kudos, letters of appreciation, letters of support, great appreciation.
How many did you say? 26?
21 compared to the 6 civilian complaints.
Oh, thank you.
Cards and cookies, that's a, but
I'm sorry to cut you off. Back to the domestic violence complaint, the one that involved, domestic violence. I just thought it was important for some people that may not understand that discretion of an officer is actually completely taken away at points when it comes to domestic violence incidents, and they are mandated to make an arrest in certain situations. So I just thought it was important to put that in there for that.
absolutely, absolutely. And there's times where if it's not fully obvious to us, it's tough to skirt on this issue, but he said, she said type of thing, we can go for a warrant for it. Usually we do try to figure out what's going on, but in this case, there was no doubt. This person had to be arrested. The officer did not have discretion to do anything else but arrest due to state statute. So, and the woman she wasn't able to understand it at the scene or when it was discussed when she came in to make the complaint. And you kind of side with her too, because it's difficult for her in the situation she's going to find herself in.
But you'd be saving her life.
Saving her, because it was not the first time. It's not
Or
the
some
first time.
bystanders.
It happened with some other town. When they were traveling with the military.
Thank you. Thank
So
you.
that's
I
good.
Huh?
Can I make a couple?
Sure. Go ahead.
Just the last 2 years of our complaint logs are both posted on our website. This will be posted as well. It's not there yet because the intent was to roll this out to the citizens and police committee first, but it will be posted. We investigate these thoroughly. There, as Cat McCarthy described, they're assigned to an investigator that's the rank of sergeant or above, depending on the gravity of the situation. If it's something that comes to the deputy chief's attention that will rise to malfeasance or misconduct, it's probably going to be assigned to one of the captains to conduct an investigation for that. After the conclusion of these investigations, a letter does go out to the complainant explaining the findings of the investigation in detail. So this is all, it's all fact-based. It isn't conjecture. It's all based on facts. Usually body worn camera clears it up. There's been many situations that's resolves it for us. I mean, I will tell you within the first couple of months of having body worn cameras back in 2017, we received a complaint against an officer. That body worn camera footage cleared that officer immediately. Had that not been present, it would have been difficult to say one way or the other, but it proves the fact that our officers are doing the right thing when they're supposed to be doing the right thing, or all the time. And many times when individuals get the results of this, they may not concur with it, but it is fact-based. And if there's no violation of policy, law, ethical violations, anything like that, and the officer's exonerated and cleared, they're also informed as well.
Are you finding since they implemented the body cameras that some of these complaints have gone down tremendously?
No,
No, There's still,
That I think they prove the officers are doing the right thing.
yeah. So
I think it
still
doesn't-
complain,
yeah,
but
yeah.
at least there's protections or whatever.
A lot of the complaints are in the heat of the moment. too. It's like,
Yeah.
You shouldn't have arrested me for driving over the Groton town sign at 117 when I was drunk. Shouldn't have done that. I'm not saying that, gentleman.
Yeah.
We've had that several situations. So it's done in the heat of the moment, you know, emotionally, like they think their rights were violated. That's the- it's true.
I keep looking behind me because I'm in
Right,
front.
that's
Okay, I couldn't see, I'm
right.
sorry.
Right.
Yeah, the 6 complaints, 21, is that for this year?
That's for 2022, correct?
2022?
2022.
Calendar year 22.
Okay. Now, how about this year?
We don't have 6 yet.
I don't
Don't have any yet.
know what we have.
We have 1 so far that I know,
Okay, I was just curious.
which has already been reconciled.
Thank you.
I believe it's just 1. I'm sorry. I thought there was 2. It was just 2.
How often do you report? Like, was it just on a monthly basis? Would that be something we report or we just kind of compile this for the year and then,
We do a yearly log.
okay,
I instituted a log back in 2015 when I took over as chief. We maintain, you know, how many complaints we receive, but also we incorporate the praise into that as well. Because
yeah,
we get a lot of letters and sometimes we don't track them as good as we should. But there's a lot of a lot of compliments of our officers doing a good job. Just something as simple as, you know, hey, I was lost in downtown Mystic. I stopped, an officer was nice. He pointed me in the right direction. Or, you know, sometimes some really meritorious actions that we wouldn't have known about because the officers may not have felt it necessary to tell anybody. But when we get that letter, it really shows some great work.
now, would it be different if for some reason, say, one of these complaints happened to be founded? You know, like, would that be something that we would hear at the end of the year?
Sure.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, now, these monthly logs, can they be checked at any time by, you know, a citizen or is this?
It's an internal log. I suppose it's subject to anything, sure. But it's not something we,
It's not posted.
yeah, we don't post it.
publish but
It's
not-
maintained by the deputy chief. The deputy chief is the professional standard / internal affairs commander.
Yeah.
So he maintains it. So if you came in today and said, I want to make a complaint about Chief Pizarro, he would assign that complaint control number. It would be accessible. It'd be, you know, it wouldn't be available until that investigation was concluded.
Right.
But if you said, hey, how many did you have in 2021? They're all posted online. How many on 2020? They're posted online as well.
Okay, thank you.
And this will be, I just checked while
It
we're
will
sitting
be
here. This
online.
isn't posted, but it will be.
Okay.
Yes.
As someone that used to do the job, if you're watching this, I can't tell you how meaningful it is as an officer to receive, compliments of praise when you do something great. So if you do encounter an officer and you, feel like it's been a really positive experience, please let the police department know, because I can't tell you how good it feels to get feedback that you've done something great, because oftentimes you really don't care about the praise. So we have had positive experiences with the officers in our community, please let them know.
Well said.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh,
You go ahead.
So-
So I'd start with one.
If a complaint comes in, and even if it's unfounded, does it go in the police officer's file and does it stay there? I don't-
The deputy chief keep that file.
So it doesn't stay in his file at all? But if it is founded to have an issue, it would go into his employee file or whatever you
I
call
don't
it?
know if we are putting it.
if there was
Good question.
if an investigation was undertaken that resulted in discipline, it absolutely.
Okay,
So attitude, for example,
Yes.
if someone maybe gave an attitude to it, is that a disciplinary reason? I mean, would you
Depends.
discipline somebody?
Depends. I mean, it depends on the situation.
Okay,
It's a tough one because.
yeah. Because you could, that's what I'm saying. It's,
I need you to step out of. the
looking
car
at these
or
and I'm like,
get that. Are you dropping F-bombs with
are you stupid or something?
an elderly woman? Or are you like in the throes of a serious possible deadly
Okay,
shooting? Stuff to say.
thank you.
You good?
Yeah.
Yep.
I just had one other thing. I think a lot of these things in the heat of the moment is, I think a lot of people are embarrassed that they were arrested. Oh, yeah, so they're trying to justify, well, you know,
If I may just
Yeah.
address that, we had one a number of years ago where the spouse of an officer from another department received a traffic ticket from one of our officers, and the claim was, the officer was rude, didn't handle it properly. The former police officer came in here to make a complaint. Deputy Chief met with him and took the complaint, looked into it, and invited him back after watching the body worn camera footage, and it was not as reported. The officer was not rude, was not, it said, hey, I'll be happy to share the video with you if you want to take a look at it and explain everything. As you pointed out, sometimes people's recollection of events may not be exactly what they were when you go to the videotape, right? And in that particular case, it resolved it. But that's someone who's familiar with the business, right? Somebody that's been a police officer for a long time and understood it. So recollections can be somewhat different, and sometimes they may be, there might be a bias on the other side, right?
well, I think a lot of people, get embarrassed.
Sure.
So they think, well, I'm gonna complain.
Especially with arrests,
Yeah,
because they don't have control over the arrest, and that complaint is their control.
right.
Then they bring it up. Well, they don't have a complaint here, but we still go through it. A lot of times also when if we take a complaint from somebody and they don't want to meet with us, over and over, we can't get a hold of them, you still consider that a complaint.
And sometimes we've gotten complaints from people who we've done the right thing and actually in their favor, like not making arrest, things of that nature, and they make a complaint just probably for the same reason.
This is something I probably could have, like, maybe, and I probably still can. I actually had to have a situation where I actually had a well check done on an individual I was helping. And I was very concerned for this person's safety. In turn, unfortunately, as the officer was leaving and he assured me everything was fine, a warrant had been issued out of a different town, and he had no choice but to go over and arrest the individual. But he gave me the courtesy call to say, I'm so sorry this is happening because you asked me for a well check, and let me know so that I could at least get the ball rolling for his family because the family was involved with the well check too. It was a really good experience, and they were treated with the utmost respect. I haven't always had that in other departments, to be honest with you, in other towns where, unfortunate individuals who have struggled don't always get spoken to. And sometimes it could just be that it's the third time they were Narcaned and they get frustrated. So I just haven't, luckily I haven't had that in this town for a very long time. So just want to kudos to you guys. Yeah. Thank you.
Well,
Okay, yes. Yeah, my A games, yes. Well, actually, this will be the second one. Yeah, 5.3, which is discussion on roadway cameras. I'm excited about this one.
so we can
Curious.
check the weather, right?
There's a nor'easter coming up the coast.
So do I have to not roll through the red lights? I have to be very careful. Is this what I'm talking about here?
No.
Okay.
So, and I'll start off the same with Captain McCarthy.
Okay.
People that don't know me, James B. I am a captain of the department. I supervise the dispatch center and the emergency management. The deputy emergency management director and chief is the figurehead for the emergency. So I've been with the department. I'm in my 27th year here. The elder statesman is the chief.
He's the senior guy and
senior guy of the department.
Can I just say, since I'm facing forward, I will pay attention to Kathy. If she has any questions, I'll
Yeah.
address Kathy, but anyone behind me, feel free to raise your hand if you don't mind. Thank you.
So last year, we explored the idea of putting up a handful of traffic cameras along some of the evacuation routes. We applied for under the nuclear safety grant, and it was approved by the town bodies to purchase cameras and put them up on the evacuation routes through the town. So in the event of a natural disaster, whether it's man-made or natural, it could be anything. The nuclear emergency at Millstone, right? The point of this was to get cameras up at intersections, have the monitor inside a dispatch so it could be monitored. We could determine where all areas were quickly and rapidly these cameras. So in that, the way that project stands right now is we're currently working with Groton Utilities, a utility company, and local businesses to try and get internet feed for these cameras to bring back to the police department. It's a monumental task, I'll be honest with you. We're exploring the more fiscally responsible route instead of trying to run fiber all through town. That would be tremendously expensive. So we're trying to utilize internet for businesses, utility poles. So that project is ongoing. We do have a couple cameras up now at Groton Square. There is one in downtown Mystic that's been down there for a while with the help of a local business. But that's where we stand with that. And the goal is to expand this to get them all along our expansion, all along our evacuation routes, which is primarily Route 1, 12, 117, 184. And obviously the exits and on ramps to the highway. So that would help, and it would help dispatch tremendously in terms of like knowing where and how to dispatch officers to areas.
So when you say emergency, are you talking like, if there's an accident and we have a huge backup on the highway, would you be able to use?
That would also benefit that. So we recently met with the state to redo all the traffic plans in the area in the event there is a closure on I-95. So those cameras would benefit that as well. They would help us as well. You know, we can't control the traffic signals from inside a dispatch. That's done by the state, or if an officer has a key to the box, but at least it will let dispatch know by looking at the cameras or to send officers.
Oh, okay.
Right, to try our best, right, to keep traffic. You know, it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
And while we were on that project, we came across, I met with a company at one of the expos called Flock Cameras. Flock is a stationary license plate reader that we have entered into just a short demo with them. And you may notice there's one down by Johnson's Hardware. If you've ever noticed what that, you see it on a pole that's got it's solar powered. And the primary purpose of these readers is it just monitors license plates on cars. And for any other reason than if your car is stolen and it's entered into the system is stolen, if you drive through one of these cameras, we would get an alert that the stolen car just drove past Johnson's Hardware. We said, example, that's what we labeled that camera. In the short period that we've had these couple cameras around town, we've covered 9 stolen cars.
Wow.
We assisted a town out of Massachusetts. We got an alert for a silver alert out of an elderly gentleman that was lost. And we had him driving through town, and we ended up locating him in Stonington. And he had no idea where he was.
So it's not used for if there's a warrant out for someone's arrest?
Well, if it's entered into the National Crime Information Center computer, yes.
So it would have to be kind of a
But
higher
it has to be
level.
tied to the car. So it would have to be
Okay.
tied to the license plate. The cameras, the license plate reader cameras don't take pictures of faces. There's no facial recognition.
Oh,
It's just focuses on the license plates of the car. So
okay.
if you have someone in your family that goes missing and they take their car, we enter that person as a missing person. We would enter the license plate of the car they're driving.
Got
And
you.
drive by one of these cameras. The officers, we get text messages on our phones if you want to set it up that way, or dispatch is logged into this all the time. They get an alert, hey, a missing person just drove by this camera.
All right, awesome.
And, you know, so far it's been very successful. We have helped other towns. Norwich had a drive-by shooting where we were able to identify the car for them through our Flock cameras. And it's as simple as in a search field, you can put, I'm looking for a white Honda with gold rims. And it'll search for the last, only retains the records for 30 days. So it'll search 30 days, any white Hondas that came through Groton with gold rims. And it'll pull them all up. Or you can even get down to specifics of the sticker and those rear window. And it'll help identify if you know a make and model, but you don't have any other information, that as a search too. So it's constantly working in the background, but it's not something that we sit and monitor. Cameras aren't live, they're not, you know, it's an investigative.
Okay.
Who knew? I had no idea what those things were.
I don't,
Well,
you knew, right?
license plate readers are not, it's not really that new technology. They've been around for a long time. In fact, we've got a couple of them on our crew cruisers, that stuff that we, a couple of years ago, there was a CIP that went through the council, the RTM. There's also, with the mandate of body cameras and in-car cameras, now the technology is such that the in-car cameras are also license plate readers. So that was a mandate from the state. So, but we are trying to expand our capabilities to make sure that, we protect privacy, protect, people's, privacy interests, but also make sure that when there's something like a missing person that winds up in our community and we have a quick way to resolve that, doing that not just through this, but through the, I'm drawing a blank, the program that was a Project Lifesaver, a couple others. And certainly if people are the victims of crime, we want to be able to resolve that.
How many block cameras do we have?
We currently have 11 right now, and they allowed us to demo 11 cameras. So you'll see them, they're out. There's some up by Walmart. There's one close to the sub base. There's one in downtown Mystic. Johnson's Hardware, there's one by Groton Ambulance, and 117, 184. There's a couple out there. And they have been, honestly, in the very short time that we've had them, they've been very instrumental in helping.
And this isn't something we probably advertise where they're at, because we don't want people to avoid those areas. You know what I mean?
Well, so if this is a system we go with, right?
Mhm.
Decide we find funding for this, whether it's through grant. And I'll just go back a little bit.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why we chose this company Flock to look at
yeah.
is because they use the same technology, the same software that is used by Axon, which is our body cameras and car cameras.
Oh, okay.
So all the information is uploaded into one
Database.
storage evidence.com where it keeps up. So if you have information you need to upload, they work hand in hand. So it just makes life a lot easier.
Is that a cost savings too? Like, because you're kind of bundling, it's like a
also-
bundle package or?
But the other part is this is all cloud basis. So the system he initially told you about,
Okay,
we're reliant on other entities like Groton Utilities or,
right.
the businesses out of the goodness of their heart to let us use their Wi-Fi signals. This is not, this is independent of it, right?
Okay.
It goes right to the cloud.
How long are you planning on demoing these?
We're actually at the end of the period now, so we've been kind of talking about ways of getting funding for this.
Are there other companies to demo with, or are you?
There are, but I said the main reason why we went with Flock is their pricing is a lot better than some of the other companies, but the fact that they work with Axon, which is our body camera company, it's, the goal on all this stuff is, when I started, we would have one time we had 3 different types of in-car cameras. So the goal is to make everything easier, right, for officers instead of keep making it more complicated. Oh, I need to log in for this company, this one, I need this login, I need to get insurance to do that. So the goal is to just make life a lot easier if there's a direction we decide to go.
Are there grants available?
So I'm exploring under the COPS program, there is a technology grant. I gotta make sure that this will work under that.
I have all the faith in you.
Well, thank you. Any other questions? Oh, I guess I should. One of the options that we do with Block is citizens do have the opportunity to opt out. So what they do is they would fill out a form that we have and it would become online, a link. They fill it out. Once we verify that they're a resident of Groton, we can enter their license plate into this program. And the system will never read their license plate. There are disadvantages to it,
Yeah,
right? So if your car gets stolen,
you're not gonna have that.
right?
Yeah,
Right? We won't know if it's in town or if it's anywhere else. Right?
Okay.
So if your car was used or, the car was stolen and then used in a crime, you can't even search it. The system will take a snapshot of the license.
And this ties in directly to some grants that we recently received. I know the council and RTM were both of them, but it was for taking money from the state of Connecticut for auto theft, catalytic converters, violent crime. We partnered with the state on some grants that they had available. Can't pay for equipment. It's really for personnel costs, so that we're still waiting for the money to drop. That hasn't happened yet, but we did sign an agreement with them, and it went through the council and RTM.
thank you.
Other questions? Well. Really?
Yeah, good.
They just didn't want you talking
Painless.
too long.
Well, I was actually surprised you wanted me to talk to me, sir. Thank you.
So since we added kind of a 5.4 to this, to talk about maybe if do you have any idea on coffee with police, like when you would be, do you have any plans to do that or?
The only thing that we have upcoming is, and this hasn't been solidified, it's really kind of internal, but we're looking at potentially doing an award ceremony sometime in May. That hasn't been finalized. You know, I tasked the lieutenant to put together some stuff on that, and he had some I don't want to roll out the date yet because we haven't confirmed a location or anything yet, but if we could potentially tie it into that afterwards. And obviously I'd certainly welcome people to come and see us handing out some awards and pins and medals on chests of officers that have done some really good things. So that might be one, but we can also certainly do something, as Heather McClellan had mentioned, if there are any opportunities or any times or locations, we'd certainly avail ourselves to that as well. Other than that, I don't have anything
Have
in
anything
mind.
set in stone yet? And I'm just not, I'm curious, like what if that, like, I know you had mentioned it a few times. I didn't know, like, what would that look like if we're all in your mind? Like, what would that look like as far as what
I
we
guess
could do?
I would just like to see something at the community center that, you know, is right there within Quonic Ridge, so neighbors could walk there if they wanted to. Might be an opportunity for the committee members to be there for any questions to the committee.
Sure.
Short and sweet, nothing big or complicated in any means.
So could we possibly, like, how would we go about, like, who would be the best person to reach out to kind of set that up? And maybe talk to Heather and see if there's something she might
That's
want
fine.
to do too. Okay.
But certainly within the community policing realm.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. So do you want to reach out to Heather and see if that's on? Okay.
Yep.
So we can put that in the notes that you're gonna reach out to Heather about. Yep, okay.
Town has to post it as well.
Town has to post it as
It's like a
well.
meeting.
It's
so
like
we
a
have to
meeting.
post it.
Okay. So then we can just notify you. Okay. So if we get a date, we'll just have to make sure we let Sean Burt know. Yep. Perfect. Thank you. Yep.
And are you looking for, like, more patrol officers to be there, like, for the community?
I have no
Okay,
set idea in any way. You
like, were you
know?
looking for, like, the chief to be there, or like other?
I think just, you know, because we haven't had any of the coffee with police in any general, in that zone in any way, I think it would just be good to have something there.
Like in the Pocahontas Bridge area?
Yep, yeah.
I haven't even seen the new. I haven't even gone to look at it yet, so I would like to go see it. All right, any other business, open discussion? Anybody have any? Go ahead.
I did see, on one of those Ring doorbell people, and I did see that town police is now connected with the Ring network. So I thought that was really good. Not
Yeah,
that I
that-
have anything exciting on my camera to send you, but you know, I did like that it had that connection.
Yeah, so those people that are clients of Ring, there is a feature that allows them to do, I think it's called Neighbors. Yeah, Ring Neighbors, basically, you know, and I have it at my home where the other day I panicked over the weekend because my wife and kids had both left the house and we have a little gray cat. Somebody in my neighborhood said there's a gray cat missing, but there's a gray cat walking down the street. I immediately assumed it was ours. Fortunately, it wasn't, because after looking for the cat was sitting in the window at home, so somebody else's gray cat, but does things like that. But also if there's problems in the neighborhood, if there's been a crime and people report it, or if there's been thefts of out of motor vehicles, people can post it themselves. And we keep an eye on that as well. Good source of information for us, where if there's a neighborhood problem going on, we go out and we can look into that, or it may help us solve some crimes that have occurred.
What is
Nobody
it?
thought that was funny about my cat being out there in my mind, and I
It's your baby.
found it.
It's a cat. So what is that called again?
Neighbors, Ring
Neighbors.
Neighbors.
Ring neighbors. Yeah, if my husband could actually put it on the house, that would really be nice.
But that's only if you have their products, which is
Right.
Ring doorbell cameras, spotlight cameras, things of that nature.
So is that connected to you?
We have the ability to get into it, like any other company.
Right, the same as if something my camera caught something that happened on my street, I could post that on that neighbor group. And anyone who's in the area could see it. Yep,
And if, for instance, if there was a video, let's say someone was breaking into the cars in the middle of the night and they could post that, if it was at your house, you had the Ring camera, you could put that video out there for the general public to see, anybody to see,
I didn't.
or any of them,
Oh, yeah.
any of the
Because I
members
have
of that
that.
Ring network.
I had that in my Florida house and we'd get an alert, like shots fired 1 mile from your home. And I'm like, oh my goodness, so it's
Lots of time my friend.
very
she has
intriguing, all the things that
Footage of someone
pop up
trying to get into her car.
Yeah.
There
I don't
is
have
one,
that
there
anymore.
is one going around on social media, and I think it's a hack, the same
I've
one.
lived in it.
I've reposted it. And then I got someone from New York that said I had the same one that went out. So I don't know if you're aware of any of that. Okay. Just didn't know if it was true. Any other?
So I have one
business?
thing.
Go ahead.
Somebody had asked me if they want to get the sign that shows like the speedometer, speed limit sign, how do you get that somewhere?
Well, they could send the traffic authority, we get those requests every month. We've only got a handful of them, and John, Bert and I serve as the traffic authority. We've got a lot of rotation at a request.
You have a lot of requests for them?
And it's, our traffic unit takes care of it. There's a sergeant who's assigned as a traffic unit supervisor.
Me
He
too.
posts them. So they would just send an email. We could
They're-
send it directly to the police department, or they could send it to the traffic authority. We usually take care of that.
How does that work out of curiosity? Now you brought that up. Like, we have two in our neighborhood. I'm on the corner with Ring and Corey. And now there's one, thank God, down in Indian Field where they're doing construction on a house and there's a big dumpster so you can't even see. So there's one right there. Doesn't report to anybody, does it? It's just trying to like slow people down.
Yeah, it's to make people, it's part of the education component of traffic
Okay.
enforcement. You want people to know if there's we've had them out here on Groton Long Point Road. We had neighbors concerned about some speeding on Groton Long Point Road. There was a request that went to the state about possibly changing the speed limit, which didn't really, the state controls all the speed limits on state roads, not the
Correct.
not the traffic authority.
Mhm.
But what we were able to do is put those out there, and it's certainly part of the education component, but we usually do follow it up with some enforcement. So we'll put, when we have patrol cars available or traffic units available, we'll put them out in the same area after that's been out there for a little while. We do take readings usually before and after, where the sergeant that does the traffic unit will get out there and he'll do a speed estimation. You ever see those strips in the roadway?
Yep.
Like rubber, that actually calculates people's speed. It will tell us how many vehicles went over that particular roadway, what the average speeds were, what the outliers were, higher and lower.
Now, do you have to, in order to actually record, like to have their speed recorded or show on that thing, they have to be facing the actual, not going away?
Well, it's a radar. It has to, yeah.
Yeah.
It comes at you. Yep.
Okay.
Or when you're approaching it, it will detect.
So if we get to the point, like in the Ring Drive, we have a lot of citizens over there that just, they're fed up. And that really has to do with, it seems to be the Grosso Tech gets out of school. And I'm talking where I live, and we're getting more and more children moving into the neighborhood, it's bad. I literally almost tried to be a cop one day. I wanted to get my car and just start.
Well, if it makes you feel better on my way,
Because I was so angry. They were on two wheels
Yeah.
coming around the corner.
if it makes you feel better on my way in one day, I happen to stop an individual.
Good. Thank you.
You gotta,
Because you're welcome to use my driveway as a,
And when you say
City.
that, it's good to observe that activity, but it's also good if you want to make a complaint, get that registration. Because if you say it's a brown stand.
that's the problem. They go so fast, I can't
it.
get them.
They go fast, I do. If you can, because we get that all the time.
I should have been a cop.
Did this, I'm like, what's the registration?
But I should have been a cop because I actually found out that they were going down to in the morning times. I actually did get in the car and I went down into Sutton Park where they actually hang out before school starts because they can't go into the parking lot. There's rules at the school that they can't be there too early. And I did get all the license plate. I went in there myself and took photos while they were sitting there and went up myself to the school hoping that I didn't have to get the police involved. I really wanted to say, hey, maybe we can at least know the parents know that their kids are gonna get some really hefty tickets. And that's gonna really hurt parents, insurance things. Didn't seem to really help too much.
Let me
but
offer a
sure.
caveat to it too. If there are speeding complaints, then they can come directly here. They don't need to go to the traffic authority. They don't need to go to.
Okay.
If people are having problems in their neighborhood, they can
Yeah.
contact the police department. Call our routine number. It's not a 911 call. It's a 860-441-6712. Call the routine number, and the desk officer will take a note of that and send it to our traffic unit. But here's the catch.
Yeah,
I think any other police officer
Mm-hmm.
will back me up on this. We get complaints in certain neighborhoods about speeding.
yep,
And I can say this as a statement of fact. I had that when I was on patrol many years ago. Speeding in my neighborhood, we're having all kinds of problems. No problem. I'll go out and do enforcement. Guess who the first person was?
the people that live in the neighborhood. I
The
knew
wife
you'd
of the
say
guy
that.
making the
The
complaint.
guy making the complaint.
So,
So just usually it's the neighbors that are the ones speeding.
and I think we have probably a lot of when I say speeding is one thing, but I'm talking reckless driving is what our issues are, which I'm still, either one, it's not good. But, we have literally tried to get not speed bumps, but speed humps. I know there's a difference.
Well, that's a,
And then you get every neighbor, every time you try to do something nice, to try to save a child's life before, like you said, be proactive than reactive. Yeah, they don't want that in our neighborhood. We don't want this, it's gonna be bad for our cars. We want this, but someone's gonna get killed.
that would have to go through the traffic authority.
Okay.
And speaking as one half of the traffic authority, we've yet to approve any of those, and there's a lot of reasons, but it's not an agenda.
Plowing and all this other
We
stuff.
can certainly make that something in the future if you want, the traffic unit to come. I can have them.
I just don't see it really getting any better, it's really scary that a child is gonna get hit and then finally someone's gonna listen, not listen, but maybe neighbors will get on board with it, so thank you. Anybody else have any other comments?
Yeah, I just had one. I seem, because I'm, the RTM representative, I get a lot of complaints about noise in Mystic from a bunch of different people. And, mostly, I think it's motorcycle. Disturbing. They rev the motorcycle. Have you been getting any kind of complaints or anything?
We've gotten, last summer, we got a lot of complaints about noise, but it was mostly associated with some of the establishments in downtown Mystic, and we did address that. Did
I have a heart.
take enforcement action when it was appropriate. But noise, general noise, I mean, if it's a motorcycle going by, which motorcycle, where did it go? How did we, we're not gonna pursue somebody for a noise, loud exhaust.
I hope you don't.
Well,
I'd rather have a loud exhaust so that cars can hear me coming. Just saying.
but we have addressed that, and typically we see the number of those complaints going up as the weather gets better.
Yeah.
So we,
Yeah.
we do address them.
Do you want to talk about Wednesday?
Yeah, just as an item of interest, we're this Wednesday, is it Wednesday? Wednesday, we're meeting with the liquor establishments here in town, those that serve alcohol, as well as those who retail establishments. Just to kind of, we're meeting with them, with the Liquor Commission. We've got a pretty big event coming up this weekend in the Mystic Irish Parade. So we would like to get out in front of this, but also address some of the complaints that we've received from some of the residents about, noise. Liquor establishments, making sure they know the left and right limits, but also to kind of educate those that do retail sales to say, hey, we do sometimes do undercover buys and to make sure that you're not selling underage. We're doing that in partnership with OPDS and GASP.
So you're gonna go to the liquor commission, the liquor stores,
Nope, they're
just,
coming right here.
oh, they're coming here just to have like a community
Yeah,
conversation.
we're just kind of giving them a
Okay.
little bit of insight as to what, what the rules are.
Your
because
expectation.
We did get a lot of complaints last year, and this is kind of to put the information out right at the outset.
Do you actually send minors in, or are they adults? Just to see if they're asking for identification.
Yep, do an off plan. We usually do it in conjunction with the Liquor Commission. Yeah, we do that for tobacco sales too, tobacco compliance checks. Did some last week. But alcohol compliance checks to make sure that they're checking the IDs, all that sort of stuff, all the things that are required by law to do.
So who's allowed in that meeting?
Just those businesses.
Just those
Yeah, we
businesses,
invited.
okay.
How do you find kids to do that job? I'm just like curious, like, hey, you want to go walk
Eager
to a
to
liquor
do
store and
it.
buy
Yeah,
some
they really are.
alcohol?
They get paid, correct? They get paid.
But I'm just saying, like, you just like,
I mean, like, I would think the recovery for students at, the
Yeah,
school
GASP
might be
usually is
gas,
pretty instrumental in
people
that.
that are in gas.
okay, I'm
kids
just
that are really
curious,
passionate
like,
about it, yeah.
it's just one of those things, like, how do you write a job description and say, hey, you want to be a minor, go buy some liquor?
Well, it's a one-time.
They don't actually get out, they don't actually get it.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, yeah, it's a paid. Funny. Any other business? I don't have, unfortunately, my other stuff, like when our next, just so I can announce, when's our next meeting, do you remember? What is it, May 8th, right?
I thought we had it in.
Okay, yeah, I know.
Oh, yeah.
Right, so if not any other, things, we can then make a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Oh, any second? Second, okay, all in favor? Great, and it's adjourned at 6:36. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys. Well, happy